we're singing. Open up the heavens, we want to see you. Open up the floodgates, the mighty river flowing from our hearts and filling every part of our praise. Your presence in this place, your glory on our face, looking to the sky, descending like a cloud. You're standing with us now. Lord, unveil our eyes. You're the reason we're here. You're the reason we're singing. Open up the heavens, we want to see you. Open up the floodgates, the mighty river flowing from our hearts, filling every part of our praise. Open up the heavens, we want to see you. Open up the floodgates, the mighty river flowing from our hearts and filling every part of our praise. Show us your glory. Show us your power. Show us your glory, Lord. Show us your glory. Show us your power. Show us your glory, Lord. Come on, open up the heavens, we want to see you. Open up the floodgates, the mighty river flowing from our hearts and filling every part of our praise. Open up the heavens, we
Well, good morning. Welcome to Crossroad Church's online Sunday service here together on May 16th. I'm excited to have you here. My name is Paul. I'm the lead pastor of Crossroad Church. And simply, Crossroad Church is a community of families and friends here in the west side of Jersey City. And we're really just united by our single desire to experience God in our lives, to experience His love, and to share that love with our neighbors here in Jersey City and throughout our lives. And so in our time here together, we'll have some music to help us reflect on who God is, and then I'll come back a little bit later to share a teaching from the Bible. And all of this is really centered on this plan A that we'll talk about later of experiencing God together. And so just want to direct your attention, if you found us at crossroadjc.com/live, there's an online program there. You can follow along with the links and the scriptures. You can also give there for church family if you want to give back to the Lord in worship that way. That would be good. But also, if you are new and you want to get connected, there's a connection card right there in the online program for you to fill out. And we'd love to get connected with you, to meet you and hear your story and see how we might partner together in experiencing God. And So I just want to encourage you to look at the online program, but also while we're here live streaming, if you're here like literally 10:30 on a Sunday morning, would love to say hi in the chat and say hello and share about things that are encouraging to you throughout our time. And then afterwards, we will post a Zoom link for you to be able to connect with us. I just want to spend some time together, whether it's answering some of the discussion questions or reflection questions that I'll bring up later, or if you're just looking for some time to pray. And so that will be available for us all after the service. So before we get into some songs of worship, songs about who God is and just helping us enter on His presence, I do want to share quickly a video that invites us all to serve together this summer with an online program, a virtual summer program for kids. And so if you're familiar with the church world, it's VBS. Usually VBS looks at different ways, but last year we started VBS and it was virtual and it was awesome. And so we're doing that again. So let's check out this video and then we will continue on with our service. Thank you.
Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
Are y'all ready? Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Let's play!
All right, well, that is a cool glimpse of this really cool opportunity that our church has for this summer. And so just wanted to dig in to have a little bit more information about how you might be able to help out with this summer program. It said there that this is a virtual VBS program. And so I have here Mia, who's our kids team leader, to just give us a little bit more information of what it would mean for you to sign up. So first, Mia, tell us what this program is. What is a virtual VBS for those of us who are unfamiliar with it?
Yes. So virtual VBS stands for Vacation Bible School. So it's a summer program that we do. And we did this last year before. This time we're doing it 3 days because every parent requested an extra day this year. So it's a program where this year's theme is called Press Play, Get in the Mix, where the kids will learn 3 major truths about being confident, right? Seeing themselves in God's eyes, so they can be confident because they're known, they can be confident because they're forgiven, and they can be confident to make a difference. So during these 3 days, while they're learning those 3 main truths, there's some Bible lessons, obviously crafts, games, food crafts that we do with them, and music with song and dance. So in this way, the kids will learn, have fun, and all at the comfort of their own home as they sign up. And we'll do some Zoom, and then they'll do a lot of these activities that will send out to them in their homes with their parents.
Yeah, very cool. And I mean, this was the first time we did a summer program at all as a church, and it happened to happen last year in the midst of this crazy season that we're in. And so it's really cool because we stay home and we have the Zoom, like a short Zoom together with other families. And then with much of the other things that are sent home with you, all the resources like the crafts and the music that we do together. Pretty cool. So for those who are interested in helping out in this kind of virtual program that we have this summer, I know some of the plans are coming together still, but what are some of the examples of how people can help? What are you looking for?
Yeah, so it can be different things. Whether you guys want to participate with registration, whether that's following up with families, calling them, getting supplies, because we're definitely going to need supplies as we get the crafts ready, the things they need for the games and the snacks, putting these supplies together and even mailing them out and sending them out through mail, or delivery in person, depending on where each family is located. Even other things where we need people to help us make videos for the music and crafts. And also, if you have the talent of video editing, so it can be anything. And so definitely just reach out because we really need help. As this year, we're going to offer two separate groups. Before we did as one, but we do know each kid, depending on their age and grade, learns differently. So we're doing preschool and elementary separately so that they can really understand the Bible lesson specifically for their age group.
Very cool. I think it's interesting to point out that kind of the flexibility of this program. Much of it is virtual, and so if you have some abilities that you can help out virtually, you can do that. Also, definitely in person. I mean, delivery. If you can drive, want to help out that way. So that is good. So for those who are interested, who would like to sign up and at least get more information about some ways that they can help, how do they do that?
Yep. So there's two ways that you guys can let us know that you're interested, because we really want to include everyone and we really do need the help. So you can email us at crossroadkidsjc@gmail.com, or you can access and sign up at the online program. So you guys can fill that out online, and then we'll reach out to you on ways where we can use you, and you don't have to worry about if you feel like, oh, I'm not good with kids. We'll find a spot for you, so don't worry.
Yeah, I love that. We'll find a spot. If you want to help out, we'll find something for you to do. And so, yeah, if you're interested, I really want to just plug that this was one of the more, I think, exciting things we did last summer, of just mobilizing together, especially in a time of isolation that we were still in. And so just want to encourage that. Yeah, email me at crossroadkidsjc@gmail.com, or sign up right there in the online program, and we'll get to you soon. All right. Okay, thanks.
There were walls between us. By the cross you came and broke them down. You broke them down. There were chains around us. By your grace we are no longer bound. No longer bound. You called me out of the grave. You called me into the light. You called my name and then my heart came alive. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Your love is greater, your love is stronger, your love awakens, awakens, awakens me. Feel the darkness shake.
like a ring of solid gold, like a vow that is tested, like a covenant of old. Your love is enduring through the winter rain and beyond the horizon, with mercy for today. 'Cause faithful you have been, faithful you will be. You pledged yourself to me, and it's why I say your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Oh yes it will, yeah. You father the orphan, you father the orphan. Your kindness makes us whole, and you shoulder our weakness. Your strength becomes our own. Now you're making me like you, and clothing me in white, bringing beauty for ashes. For you will have your bride, free from all her guilt, and rid of all her shame, and called by her true name. And that's why I sing your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. You will be praised, you will be praised. With angels and saints we say worthy are you, Lord. You will be praised, you will be praised. Angels and saints we sing worthy are you, Lord. Will be praised, you will be praised. With angels and saints we sing worthy are you, Lord. You will be praised, you will be praised. With angels and saints we say worthy are you, Lord. And it's why I say your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. Your praise will ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips now. Ever be on my lips, ever be on my lips. You have been so good, so good. For you have been so good, so good. With angels and saints we say worthy are you, Lord. For you have been so good, so good. You have been so good, so good. With angels and saints we say worthy are you, Lord.
Well, I am really grateful for the ministry of Shant and Ohima and just the power of music for us to be able to center on who God is in our life. And so, if you missed me earlier, my name is Paul. I'm the lead pastor of Crossroad Church, and I want to bring a teaching from the Bible. But really, my heart in this is really, like I've been saying, is as if we're sharing together some time in our kitchen table or living room, just sharing about life. Right? I had an opportunity to just listen and pray for one of the organizations here in Jersey City. Was just talking to a staff member and hearing how I can pray for them, and it was just so powerful to hear another person's experience, but also powerful to know just what a difficult time it is, right? Many of us have, I mean, we share this every week, but there's just been such a season of transition, challenge, and change, and loss, and in different ways being experienced across our community. And there's this fear that's building up. There's conflict and social unrest across the world. They're in the ongoing pandemic still and the divided perspectives and how to handle it with our country, and then across the world. And it's just really, really a difficult time. And in the midst of all that, it's like here am I, and here's you and me, and we looking at each other, and it's like, what can we do? You know, who are we? What is my role in all of this? And honestly, how can I keep up with all of these things? Right? I don't know if this has happened to you, but sometimes people will hit me up on a phone or call me or we'll talk, and or Hazel, even my wife, will tell me, "Hey, did you hear about this and that?" And I'm like, I didn't even know about these intense things that are happening in Jersey City and across our country and in the world. And it's like, what can I do? God, what can I do? What's my role in all this? Who am I in this moment? Um, how can I keep up with all these things? And usually, if I am honest, right, if I'm trying to be honest, my answer is, what can we do? And I'm like, I don't know, not much. Or who am I in all of this? I have no clue. Or how can I keep up with all these things? It's like, I cannot. I can't. I don't know, how do I figure out my role in all these things? And um, I shared with a church family a few months ago that really this is a season of reflection and a season of figuring out, who am I really? There's been so much uncovered, so much revealed in our culture and in our lives, and it's revealing you and me what we're really made of and who we really are, and probably causing us to face things about ourselves and about the world that maybe we never really wanted to. Um, but here's my heart for my family, for myself personally, and the heart that I'm sharing with the Crossroad family, and for you, if you're tuning in here, and your presence is a confession that you're seeking. Your presence is here. Our presence here together is a confession of us seeking out that perhaps God has some answers that we don't. And so here's the deal. Here's how I'm thinking about it. Let's get back to plan A. Let's get back to plan A in our lives. And most specifically, right, this is a church, I'm a pastor. Let's get back to God's plan A in my life. Because I think so much of the challenges that you and I have faced has forced us to go into plan B and plan C and to turn to this thing and to that thing, and I don't know anymore, let me just do this. I'm not sure what to do, so let me just transition to this. But let's just get back to the basics of, okay, God, who do you want me to be? How do I listen to you? How do I get into the center of who you want me to be? How do I do that? How do I do that in this moment when you hear of the chaos in the Middle East? You hear the heartbreaking, tragic things in India. You hear about these incredible divisions in our country and across the world, and we're thrown with these big questions. What's your view on this? How do I handle that? Let's get back to God's plan A of listening to Him and then doing what He tells us to do and following His way. And honestly, just personally, that's really the whole point of why we're here. That is like the whole point of the existence of the church. The church doesn't exist for community, just for these good things, lowercase g good things, but really we exist because God desired in his plan A to use you and me. In the plan A throughout history, the plan A, that the master plan that God has had to pursue renewal in this world is to work through broken people like you and me. That's his plan A. It's not just coming in like a hero, swooping in, flying in with a cape and doing everything on his own. No, actually, God has worked through this thing called the church, has worked through broken sinners. We heard last week talking about David, the king, right? The king who slayed Goliath, and he was a murderer. He was he was an adulterer in many ways, and I just think, man, but this is God's master plan. And so the invitation, the reason on a personal note of why I desire to have a church community and I desire to establish this in the west side of Jersey City is because I believe God is at work and his master plan is to work through you and your family and me and my family. So how do we sync up together to become who God has designed us to be? This is what I envision for me and my family overall. I just want to be where God is. The pursuit of life, of what has gotten me to this place, and any fruitful steps forward has only ever been when I wanted to be where God is. Wherever you go, I will go. I've I've tripped, I've fallen on my face in those attempts. I haven't been always in the right spot trying to be where God wants me to be all the time. But the reality is, whenever I've gotten anywhere that was close to becoming who God wants me to be, it was just a simple pursuit of his presence. God, I just want to be where you are. God, I just want to be close to you. Because if there's anything that I want us to realize today is that when we say we have faith in God, we say, to be a Christian, to have these labels, to be who God has called us to be, it's all very, very personal. It's all very, very much a heart level thing. It is not checking all the right boxes of the right doctrines. It is not believing all the proper things all the time, although, I mean, the truth is there for us that God has put there. But at the end of the day, it's a relationship. It is a trusting relationship to listen to God and to pursue his way here and now. And so with that desire, and I wonder if that's your desire in this season of your life, um, there's many things we can do. There's many things that we can turn to. But the big truth that I want us to consider today, but also for the next several weeks, and really for the rest of our life, is here's this big truth that we are meant to live a God-centered life. We are meant to live a God-centered life. One of my favorite things that we do as a family, for our young family of a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, is we read together before bedtime. A lot of the times it's an exhausting time where we're just like running through the book, but sometimes we really sit in it, and we have this book, this devotional book. A devotion is just like a one-pager about God's truth that is written for kids, right? And so we read that together. And the way that the book starts out, it starts out with the beginning, and it describes the beginning, the creation of the universe, as a beautiful dance. And the beautiful dance where everything is centered and properly ordered, and everything is, it's kind of like the universe, the galaxies all designed together in this beautiful way. And then you turn the page, and the next page, it talks about the cataclysm, the destruction of that beautiful dance. And what is the destruction? What destroyed this beautiful dance? What was the cataclysm? It was when we put the wrong thing at the center. You see, the beautiful thing that it was describing was that everything worked out perfectly, exactly the way it was supposed to, when God was at the center of it all and everything centered around him. But you and I know that we don't like other people to be in the center of the attention, especially when we're in need. We want to put ourselves in the middle there. And even when we think about God, it's like, God, here's what I need you to do for me. Like, help me out. I will do whatever you need to do, but I need you to do this for me. We live in a way where we think God is centered on me. He exists for me. But actually, that's when everything gets disordered, and it's a cataclysm. It's wrong. We get frustrated when, because you know what happens when we try to make God do everything that we want him to do? He doesn't. We have the humble reminder that God is God and we are not. We are meant to center and orbit him, not the other way around. The disorder, when this wrong order happens, it's probably the cause of much of the frustration in your life and in my life. Missed expectations. God, why did you do it this way? Why didn't you help me with this and that? And oftentimes, very valid, but many of the times, if you're like me, you just think it's because I thought in that moment that God, you were going to do it my way. But then it was that humble reminder, God is God and I am not. And so the way we're going to do this as a church family is really simple. I want to start a book study together. And so we're going to be focusing on a book called The 7 Realities of Experiencing God. It's by Henry Blackaby. It's by Blackaby and his son. And so we'll be walking through that next month. But this month, as we finish out the month of May, I just want to introduce some of the foundational truths. Right? And so we're going to be walking through this study, and so we'll share the information of how you can get the book. You can get it through our church, or you can get it on Amazon or yourself or whatever. But 7 Realities of Experiencing God, we want to really dig into it, so that will be what our Sunday is about, and also want to spend some time actually going through the discussion guide together as a church family, as we gather virtually together in the middle of the week to discuss this. And so if you are interested in getting involved with that discussion group that will start next month, would love for you to sign up in the online program, because we want to be able to do this together. We want to be able to walk through these truths together. You and I know tuning into a YouTube clip like this, which I'm so grateful you're here, is not going to form us. It's not going to be enough to form us into being exactly who God has created us to be. We got to wrestle with it. And the goal, the vision of life that God has is not for you to wrestle with these things and to figure it out with your own wisdom on your own. No, we have to do this together. And so I really encourage you, if you are in this place where you desire to grow and get out of the cataclysm and get back to the beautiful dance of a God-centered life in the midst of a chaotic world, then do life with us and enter in this study together with the Crossroad family. Let me read a couple quotes from the beginning of this book, right? It says, God knows what your life can become. Only He understands your full potential as His child. He doesn't want you to miss out on anything He has for you. Do you believe this? God wants you to know His will. He's not trying to hide it from you. You may be frustrated because you know there's a more abundant life than what you're currently experiencing, or you may earnestly desire God's direction for your life in this moment as you seek to serve Him. Or perhaps you've recently experienced tragedy and now you stand bewildered in the middle of a broken life, not knowing what to do next. Whatever your circumstances, our prayer is that our community can help each other do the following things. And it lists out these things. And if this is for you, I just really want you to remember it. So this is what the heart of the study is, that together we can help each other do one of these things. 1, believe and experience daily God's infinite love for us. 2, hear when God is speaking. That'd be amazing, right? Let's hear that, we would hear when God is trying to talk with us. 3, identify God's unmistakable activity in your life. 4, believe God to be and do everything He promises. 5, adjust our beliefs, character, and behavior to God and His ways. 6, identify a direction God is taking in your life and recognize what He wants to do through you. And lastly, 7th, know clearly how to respond to what God shows you. Did you resonate with any of those desires? Is this what you want for your life? Then take a journey with us in the next few months. Let's experience God doing only what He can do in our lives and how He uses us as His plan A. This is a life of faith that we can pursue together. And this type of life takes trust. It takes faith. Because I would not encourage you to center your life on anybody because of how they will fall short. To center our lives, our hopes, our dreams, our time, our energy, our resources, our money, our thinking, our dreams on something or someone other than ourselves is a lot of trust that we're putting in them. Right? We talked a few weeks ago about how, this term counterfeit gods, of centering our lives and our hopes and our dreams on these things like success or status or money or love or whatever else it could be. Those things are going to disappoint. They're counterfeit gods. They're lowercase g gods. And yet so much of our lives are centered around these things. And saying, no, let's center our lives in the order that it was meant to be centered, that we would live a God-centered life. The heart here is to reorder away from the cataclysmic chaos in our hearts and back towards God's beautiful design. But this all takes trust and faith to step towards this. So with that today, we're going to look at a powerful chapter, just some portions of Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews chapter 11 is one of the more famous chapters in the New Testament in the Bible. It's written within a letter to Jewish Christians who are being persecuted in the midst of struggles. And so in the midst of that, there's this call to not shrink back. There's this call to be bold and to be strong, just like the heroes that we see demonstrating faith, that we would continue to trust God being the center, even in the midst of chaos. And so it defines faith, and it gives examples of faith that we're going to look at here today. Right? And so it says, as we look at the Bible, let me quote this from the book as well. The Bible is God-centered. Never forget that every time you open the scriptures, you're face to face with the author. That's why we do this together. And secondly, the Bible isn't about you. It's about God and how you can truly know him. It's not about you. It's not about getting you and that you being at the center, me being at the center. But it's about us recognizing God more and more, getting closer to him, becoming more and more who he calls us to be. So let's look at this verse in Hebrews chapter 11, 1 and 2. It defines faith this way. Faith shows the reality of what we hope for. It is the evidence of things we cannot see. Through their faith, the people in the days of old earned a good reputation. Faith is defined as trusting and believing even if our eyes can't see it, our minds can't perceive it, and our hearts can't feel it. It's being confident of the things that we hope for. It is evidence of the things that we cannot see. I mean, simple. I feel like whether you're spiritual or not, or you're Christian or not, you understand that is what faith is. Faith is trusting in something that it will play out even if we don't know. And you hear this a lot outside of church circles, putting it out in the universe and trusting that things will work out well for you together. And that's a level of faith. That's a level of faith that for some reason that the universe will work things out in the way that you do because of the energy, quote unquote energy that you're putting out there. But I think it's important for us to recognize that this, in this context, is very personal, that it's not just a positive mindset. Faith is not just a positive mindset that everything will work out. Faith is not naming it and claiming it either. It's not kind of posturing ourselves before God that because I believe this thing to be, therefore it will be what I say it is. And that's actually, again, putting us at the center of it all. No. Faith is trusting that God is God. And that God is God even if we don't see it, we don't understand it, we don't fully grasp why things are happening. We will continue to trust that he is God and he will do what he says he will do. That God is still at the center of all this. God is still present and active in all this, and he is still worth my trust. Even with all that you are dealing with, what I am dealing with in this moment, he is still trustworthy, he's still present, he is still God. Just a powerful reminder that he is still God, even in my life in this moment. See, this was an important reminder for these early church Christians, and they have a list of just amazing examples of faith, biblical examples of faith. Right? Noah building an ark when rain wasn't a thing, when there were no oceans around, building an ark when they didn't even need an umbrella. Abraham leaving his home and going before he knew where he was going to go, what destination it was going to be. He just went on faith because he had this personal connection with the God who was at the center of the activity in that moment, right? But for us here today, we're just going to stop by looking at the life of Moses because that is what the book Seven Realities focuses on. And so we're going to look at kind of the early part of Moses' life. And a little bit of background here, very important. When we look at this verse, right, because in Hebrews 11, it's talking to Jewish Christians who have the full gamut of history as a part of their tradition. They know Moses, they know these names. These are not the first times that they would have heard them. But for you and me, it might be new. And so, just really quick, we're stepping into Moses' life. And when Moses was born, he was born during the time of a powerful Egyptian regime, like a world power, that was trying to control the population violently by murdering the firstborn sons in the Jewish families. Just indefensible ethnic cleansing, really. Just trying to control this population of people that was just massively growing, and it became a threat, and so they decided to do this. And in the midst of this was a couple that had a baby named Moses. In the midst of this backdrop, Moses was born. Right? Imagine, how do you have faith in that moment? How can you imagine God being at the center of anything in that moment? But Moses' parents were able to do that. So let's read here. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 23. It says, "It was by faith that Moses' parents hid him for 3 months when he was born, that they saw that God had given them an unusual child." Interesting translation there, unusual child. "And they were not afraid to disobey the king's command." In the midst of this reality, here is these parents that were demonstrating faith. They recognized personally that God had some plans for this kid, and so they needed to do something about it. And they were willing to go against the regime, this powerful, violent regime, and risk all of their lives, and in order to be able to do this, right? It brings me back to different kind of scenes where this was happening. It's just, how do you hide a 3-month-old baby, right? I can just imagine those kind of thriller, suspenseful movies where there's someone that's trying to hide, right? Like in a quiet place where there's someone trying to hide the baby, but if they make a noise, the monster's going to come get them. How do you hide a 3-month-old baby, and much more than even a newborn? It's not going to be easy, right? Especially in clear-cut violence waiting for you on the other side if you are caught. And so here is these parents, and they demonstrated faith by going against what this abusive regime was doing. They took the risky step of faith in protecting their child from the regime. And so not only was it Moses' parents, but when we look a little bit into Moses' life here, so he grows up and if you don't know the story, his parents keep him alive, and they send him up on the river, and then in a basket, and the basket miraculously, supernaturally ends up into the hands of Pharaoh's daughter, and Pharaoh's daughter essentially adopts Moses as her own, as a Jewish son in the midst of a time when the Egyptians had actually enslaved the Jewish people to do massive projects across their nation. And so in the midst of a nation where the Jewish people, the Hebrew people, are enslaved, here's one that is experiencing the royal privileges of being a part of the Pharaoh's family. Here's Moses. And so it was in that life he grows and he gets educated and he experiences the royal experience. And then in verse 24, look what happened in Moses' life. It was by faith that Moses, when he grew up, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He didn't sit back comfortably in that royalty, but in verse 25, he chose to share the oppression of God's people instead of enjoying the fleeting pleasures of sin. He thought it was better to suffer for the sake of Christ than to own the treasures of Egypt, for he was looking ahead to his great reward. It was by faith that Moses left the land of Egypt, not fearing the king's anger. He kept right on going because he kept his eyes on the one who is invisible. I love that last line. He kept right on going because he kept his eyes on the one who is invisible. So here's the thing. We're not going to go into the whole story of Moses, but he had the opportunity in the midst of a really tough moment to just sit back and enjoy life as part of royalty. And that is not what he did. He didn't just keep it moving and just kind of close his eyes to all the stuff like, oh, don't tell me about these headlines. Stop texting me this and that. I am just going to eat my food and take care of what's in front of me, read my books, and it is what it is. But no, that's not what Moses did. He set aside that privilege. He set aside royal privilege, and he instead chose oppression and suffering and risk, and he turned away from these just worldly, kind of obviously good things, being part of the royal family, and he ended up leaving his home country, and in all of these things, stepping towards being a part of God's redemption, being a part of God's heroic plan. uh, Moses kept his eyes on the one who is invisible. Right? It doesn't even mention all the stuff about the Red Sea. It doesn't talk about the burning bush that you may have heard that when God approached Moses later on in his life. But here, he took a step of faith in the midst of like the darkness, and he said, I need to set this aside. God, what are you doing? I need to be a part of what you're doing. Here's these really attractive, good things that I can just live on: wealth and education and privilege and just live a good life. But I'm setting that aside because, God, you are the center, not me, and I will pursue the life that you have for me. And for him, it was quite a decision, choosing to suffer and choosing risk for the sake of following God's plan. He kept right on going because he kept his eyes on the one who is invisible. He kept right on going because he kept his eyes on the one who is invisible. And so for you and me, let me just bring it all back here. So that's Moses' parents, that's Moses as an example of what it is to take steps forward and trusting that God is at the center and he's active and he's trustworthy and he knows what's best for me and I will follow him. What about you today? What about you today? What about you and me? In the midst of our crazy world, right? We're not in Moses' world, but we got our own mess and brokenness that we're dealing with. And it's plenty. And so we can just continue, like you have the option to tune into this for an hour and then be about your way, or maybe you can take this invitation that we're offering, this invitation into a life where God is at the center and God is on the move, and we would join him as he moves in this world. That we can find where God is active in and around our lives, and that we would join him in that activity. And that every day just trying to figure out, what is he saying to me? Where are you active? What can I do? And pursue that. In the Christian world, there's always this question: what is God's will for my life? It's kind of an interesting question. Because I don't think the idea of what is the word will is not usually normally used in any other context. But am I in the center of what God's design is for my life? Am I fulfilling the fullest potential of God's vision for my life? What is God's will for my life in this moment? Whether it's because I'm in the midst of a crossroad in my life or whatever the case may be. It says in the book here, the authors of Seven Realities, what is God's will for my life isn't the best question to ask. What is God's will and how can I join him in that is the better question. Let me say that again. What is God's will for my life isn't the best question to ask. What is God's will and how can I join him in that is the better question. Too often we want to plan our own lives and call God in to make us successful. But when we're living God-centered lives, we understand that God has better plans than he invites us to join. When we're living God-centered lives, we understand that God has better plans that he invites us to join. And so you and I, all the honesty and the vulnerability of all the things that we need in this moment, God can take all that. But I want to invite us all into the heart of this conversation, that it's not just, God, how will you give me a successful life? How can I get success in my life? But God, what are you doing in this world? And how can I be a part of what you're doing? That's the question. God, what are you doing? And how can I join you? What is your will, and how can I join you in that? And have those eyes and those ears and those hearts open to see God's activity. Let's get back to plan A. That's what it is. That's what this is. That's what this life is. That's the type of life that's worth dying for and living. And this is the life that Jesus invites us into. Not just going to church and reading every now and then and not being a horrible person. Jesus' vision for our life is so much more than just kind of coasting through life as an okay person. Jesus' vision for our life, the reason why Jesus gave his life, the reason why Jesus set aside his own privilege and set aside divine privilege, divine rights, that he set aside leaving heaven, pouring himself out on this earth to be a servant that dies on the cross. He did all that so that you and I can join God's activity and vision of life from now into forever. It's not just to get into heaven, but to get into the activity of bringing heaven here now, in our homes, in our workplaces, and in Jersey City, and in the U.S., and across the world. So how might we get back to God's plan A for our lives? I want to close with a few questions here before our closing song. And so here's some questions of reflection. And maybe if you want to discuss this, maybe discuss this in your homes or discuss this, join the Zoom after. We can talk about it a little bit. So just 3 questions. One of the most common questions asked by people who are seeking to please God and live by faith is, how do I know and do the will of God? When you have wanted to know God's will, what did you do? When you have wanted to know God's will, what did you do? Secondly, can you share specific instances where a step of faith, small or big, impacted your personal relationship with God? Is it personal when you take steps of faith? And how does it impact your relationship? And then lastly, how are you currently seeking to draw near to God and know his will for your life? Is this something that you want? Is this something that you're doing? And then I would encourage you, as you share in that time, and just close even in praying for each other. And again, this can be a time of personal reflection for you. Maybe this will help you as kind of a guided contemplation for you. But God's vision for you and for me is to do this in community. And so if you're here with us on Sunday morning, join the Zoom after this time closes. But especially for those, find people in your life, trusted community, to walk through these things together. Even if you don't call yourself a Christian, just think about, if you think there's a higher power, God, what does he want me to do? Am I fulfilling my existence? Am I fulfilling the purpose of my life? And if I want to get there, what am I doing to get there? And our invitation here is that we would do it here together, under the grace of God, under the presence of God at Crossroad Family. What is God's will for my life is not the best question to ask. What is God's will, and how can I join him in that, is a better question. Let's do that together. Let's, just like Moses did, pursuing a God-centered life, and let's see what he has for us.
I could just sit and wait for all your goodness, hope to feel your presence. I could just stay right where I am and hope to feel you, hope to feel something again. Oh, I could just stay here, and I could hold on to who I am and never let you change me from the inside. I could be safe, oh, I could be safe here in your arms and never leave home, never let these walls down. But you have caught me higher, you have caught me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead I could hold on to who I am and never let you change me from the inside. I could be safe, oh, I could be safe here in your arms and never leave home, never let these walls down. But you have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. You have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. You lead me, Lord. Where you lead me, Lord. Oh. And I will be yours, I will be yours for all my life. I will be yours, I will be yours for all my life. Oh, and I will be yours, I will be yours for all my life. So let your mercy, I will be yours, I will be yours for all my life. So let your mercy light the path before me. And you have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. Oh, you have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord.